2019年6月11日，澳洲华人公益金 Accf 成功举办2011-19 Accf 首届妇女大会后，当晚在Amora大酒店举行200人庆功晚宴。
新闻稿邝玲报道，新州州都在华人公益金论坛会晚宴上发表主题演讲，勉励女性勇敢追求梦想。新州州都 Margaret Beasley 应邀出席澳洲华人公益金6月11日在悉尼 Amora Hotel 举办的关注女性话题“女性从逆境到成功”论坛会晚宴，并发表主题演讲，以亲身经历勉励女性要勇敢与社会对女性的不公平对待抗争，勇敢追求梦想。新州前女州督巴雪尔、新州议员 Natalie Ward、新州州长代表、新州多元文化和运动厅厅长 John C. Doty、新州前上议院议员和沈慧霞、黄兆强、论坛会铂金赞助机构 B1 集团总裁齐越等出席当天活动。澳洲华人公益金为期1天的论坛会及晚宴邀请了来自澳洲各行各业的杰出女性，并与她们进行对话，通过分享她们的宝贵见解，将让来宾们了解她们是如何从容应对挑战，更好地融入社会，从而达到成功的高度。当天受邀进行主题演讲的嘉宾不仅有共同的移民背景，而且每个人都有其独特的励志故事。他们在澳大利亚政治、商业、学术、艺术、居家、社区服务和许多其他行业拥有丰富的人生经验和社会贡献。晚宴上，澳洲华人公益金主席朱潘敏嘉表示，开展这次论坛会是一项契合华人公益金目标的社区倡议，旨在促进多元文化的发展。他感谢为活动成功举办做出贡献的各方，并表示此次活动把论坛会带向来一个新的高度。新州州督 Margaret Beasley 曾是一名出色的律师、法官。当年他踏入法律界时还含有女性律师。他靠着自己的勇气和智慧，在以男性为主导的法律界闯出一片自己的天地。他的故事深深感染和鼓舞了在场的女性。当晚晚宴上还特别安排了多个民族族裔的表演，展示了澳洲多元文化的绚丽多彩。活动圆满成功。
I'm so honored to be here as your MC. When Monica and Cecilia Chai had approached me, I thought, wow, it was so fitting because I am a migrant as well. So I know diversity, I know adversity, and I know achievements as well. So I was so happy to accept the invitation. I am a proud migrant. I was born in the Philippines. I grew up in Papua New Guinea. Then I worked and studied in Manila, and now I'm the media manager working here at the New South Wales Multicultural Health Communications Service in Sydney. So I believe I'm a storyteller, just like everyone else here, and I think it's important for us to share stories with each other. And today we did that. We were moved, we were inspired, we were just empowered by the stories of the women who were there at the conference today. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the original inhabitants and custodians of the place we now call Sydney. We pay respect to the elders past and present, and to those who are with us this evening. We are awaiting the arrival of our special guest, Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, AOQC, Governor of New South Wales, and Mr. Dennis Wilson. Once they arrive, we will begin the opening ceremonies. In the meantime, please sit down, relax, and take time to get acquainted with the people in your table. Thank you. Let's now welcome Ms. Monica Chu, the ACCF chairman, who I would like to say she's such an incredible lady. You know, she's been running around, doing such hard work. I'd like to just ask you to give her a round of applause.
Good evening. Before we begin proceedings for this evening, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Amora Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past and present and emerging, those who are present here. I would like to welcome Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beazley, AOQC, Governor of New South Wales, Mr. Dennis Wilson, Professor the Honourable Dame Marie Bichet, AD CBO, distinguished conference speakers, conference delegates, sponsors, media friends, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to tonight's celebration dinner after the ACCF Women's Conference. For some of you, it has been a very long day. The night will offer opportunities for you to meet, network, and inspired by women who have played a significant role in today's multicultural society. We had a very successful conference today. Our conference director, Ms. Cecilia Chai, will do a short report on the conference later this evening. Apart from this, I want to share a piece of good news with you. ACCF is very honored to have been granted vice-regal patronage from the Governor. Thank you. It is my honor to say, great minds think alike. This project would not have been possible without the support from our sponsors and supporters. Sincere thanks is extended to our platinum sponsors here tonight, the Australian Taiwan Women's Association, Team 100 Proprietary Limited, Accf Communities Council of New South Wales, our both sponsors, Mrs. Gloria Cho, who is also our trustee, Net Private, Proprietary Limited, Vehicle Architectural Hardware Proprietary Limited. And of course, we have received generous donations from Dr. Peter Wong, AM, our founding chair, and Dr. Victor Sang, trustee and member of our management committee. As one would have expected, the conference would not have been possible without the support and expertise of a robust planning team. A lot of work has been put into this project, much of it after hours, as all our team members have a daytime job. I would like to make a personal presentation to the team. May I have Ms. Cecilia Chai, our conference director? They all have played an important role to make this event possible. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone around.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, Governor of New South Wales.
I've just worked out what my role is tonight. It is to bring the heart rate down, slowly and gently. So if you would like to take your pulse now, and take it again in 20 minutes' time, just so long as you're not asleep, I think I would have done what I was obviously required to do. I mean, being asked to follow a performance like that is, let's just say this, it's a challenge. I was going to start by commencing saying I love nothing else by being in a room full of intelligent women and having a discussion with intelligent women, and I don't mind the occasional male coming along. But I say that in jest, of course, because what I really, really love is being in a room full of intelligent and warm and fun-loving people. So thank you very, very much for this invitation. And may I thank in particular Monica, very specifically for the invitation. I also want to acknowledge the Venerable. Now, you know who I mean by that. I don't particularly bother anymore with referring to Professor the Honourable Dame Murray Bashir with her many appellations and endnotes. I think the Venerable is enough. I mean, I just love her, but she's magnificent as well. You know, it's just extraordinary. Mr. Benjamin Chow, Mr. Samuel Chu, patrons, donors, members, volunteers, and I think that's all of us and everyone distinguished, one and all. And it really is an honour to be here at what has been a very special day. May I commence, however, by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathered, the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I congratulate the Australian Chinese Charity Foundation on a successful inaugural Women's Conference at Parliament House. It is wonderful, it's just truly wonderful, when Australian women of all ages, backgrounds and circumstances connect and learn from each other's stories. Your particular stories that have been told today recount a contribution that has been made by migrant women and the children of migrant women in the home, the workplace and the community. Indeed, I suspect, as is the case with probably nearly everyone in this room, the contribution to the home, the workplace and the community is by doing it all at once. And we have all done that, each in our different ways. We've done it at different times in our lives, and we have done it, when I look at the age group around here, in different social eras. My response as a judge with young children, when I used to be asked, how do you manage everything, was this. I'd say, look, just so long as the peanut butter goes between the slices of bread and not between the pages of the judgment, I figure I'm ahead. And it really wasn't much better than that. The Australian Chinese Charity Foundation has now nearly 30 years of history behind it, and it's lived up to that mission with which it commenced, to support people in need, to support various not-for-profit organisations, to foster multiculturalism, and to facilitate understanding between the Australian Chinese community and the wider community. And again, as I look around today, it's really facilitating understanding between people. As a foundation, there's no doubt that you have responded to these various community needs, and it's just wonderful the way community has remained and is central to it. And I only want to mention one example tonight of how that has been done. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. But last year, as drought ravaged so many parts of New South Wales, in fact, so many parts that the Queen wrote to New South Wales and expressed her concern for the difficulties that the farmers were going through. But in that year, this foundation donated more than $110,000 to the Wollongong Child Council. Conditions were so dire that the local farmers were forced to buy in feed to sustain their livestock. And what this donation did was it enabled the community to buy in about 9 trucks worth of hay. Just shows you what the cost of the hay was, only 9 trucks worth. So whilst that wasn't enough to counter the effects of the drought, it was enough just to move things along just a little bit. It kept the farmers going for a period, just gave them that one breath to be able to keep going. But do you know what else it did for those farmers? It demonstrated that there was a community out there that cared for them. And this was very special in another way. It wasn't only the money that was handed over, write another cheque, very important. Members of the foundation went down to the community and met and actually saw the conditions. That to me is something which demonstrates an understanding of the necessary connection that people need to make with the community to really understand what is going on. So congratulations for all of those gestures. What is interesting to me, having just really, I suppose, come to this organisation, is that you've become a dynamic part of the community. And you've done that only in 30 years, which is really not so long, because it takes time to build up and to build up the momentum, and I suppose in its own way to find your place, as well as to find the trust within the community. I also find it interesting, and I think as important, that you've been able to find this place without sacrificing what I will call identity. And by that I mean the ethnic and cultural identity, which is so much part of the raison d'etre of those who have come from across the seas. It's so important that you have it, but you are Australian. And your members and your volunteers, your extensive network of patrons and your trustees are to be congratulated for all of that. And I pay tribute to you and to those who have given so generously time, money, commitment, dedication. What an aspect of community. I think you deserve your own cut on this. And I'm really very honoured because my 2 immediate predecessors as governors of New South Wales, the Venerable, and David Hurley, now Governor General Designate, they have enjoyed a special relationship with this foundation, and it is such an honour to be asked to continue that tradition as your patron. I really humbly very much thank you. Unfortunately, commitments didn't enable me to attend any part of your conference today, and I very much apologise to that because I've read the program and I've read the profiles of the various presenters, and they are just truly extraordinary. And one of the things that I really liked about it was that it was intergenerational and it was interdisciplinary in nature. And also, what I found inspiring about it, and I think this perhaps reflects my own mindset a great deal, is that what the conference did was garnered the talents of women who are doers, the women who do things. And whilst often a single activist voice can be instrumental in mobilising change, such as was the case, for example, with Germaine Greer when I was an emerging law student, at that time when women were routinely rejected for the jobs that they needed and they had to have to be able to qualify as lawyers. But I have the view that the advancement of women, including women from different ethnic backgrounds, is accelerated by the practical demonstration of their skills and their talents. And that is the doing thing of where your skills and talents truly lie. And at the end of the day, it is simply too hard. Too hard for a community, too hard for businesses, too hard for governments, too hard for academic institutions to ignore great skill and great talent. And certainly, for example, the great university colleges in Oxford learned that quite some time ago. And women simply flourish in those atmospheres. What is interesting, I think, that women have flourished despite all the hindrances and obstructions that have been put in their way. And even though I think we live in such a different world to the one that I entered into when I entered into the profession in 1975, there is no doubt that there are still, on occasions, reservoirs of opposition, and sometimes, I think, just simply a lack of understanding of what the difficulties that women face in managing all aspects of what should be actually a normal life and not a special life. And I think that those difficulties must be all the greater when children from ethnic backgrounds start school, for example, without English, or who have come to Australia as young teenagers or young adults with no or little English, sometimes no network, no friendships, and they often come from communities with different cultural outlooks. That's a big hurdle just of itself. That's not my personal experience. My experience was, as I think I've intimated, a significant negativity towards females in the legal profession. It was also an experience of having no personal connections in the law to help me navigate not only a very male profession at that time, but a significantly financially and socially privileged profession, which was not part of where I came from. It was a profession, and if there was one thing that annoyed me hugely, it was this. It was a profession where others considered that it was their voice and not my hoped-for ability that should control my future. It was the voices of the men in the profession who thought they knew they could tell me what I could do. And it was certainly the case that they were not telling me that I could be a commercial lawyer or a public lawyer or a taxation lawyer as I wished to be. They thought it was good enough for them to tell me to become a family lawyer. Very important part of our community, but not the law that I wanted to pursue, and it was certainly not the law they wanted to pursue. And that was the mindset with which I entered into their mindset that faced me when I went into the profession. And indeed, it was a time when the most basic requisites of the profession were denied to me. For example, David Jones refused to make me a bar jacket because I was a female. Just wouldn't make me one. In fact, when I rang to make the appointment, they said, "Oh, just send him down, will you?" I said, "Can I come down myself, please?" And that's when I said no. And so how do you overcome problems like that when, there is a uniform you're supposed to wear, etc.? Well, you defy it. Sometimes you just have to defy things. So I made myself a black dress, put a little white collar on it, and nobody knew the difference. But were it not for those who came before me, the experience would have been so much harder. And I've been asked tonight to share a little of my story and perspective on how the role of women in Australian society has changed. And I've already lighted upon those things, and I don't want to keep you. I can already feel the heart rate coming down, so I'm not going to keep you forever. But it is important to know the stories that came before. But let's go back even further. In the Aboriginal tradition, women have always played a crucial role in resolving conflict and ensuring that knowledge of the law was passed down to younger generations. And of course, the central role that women have always played in community is captured in that wonderful saying. It has a number of versions and it's becoming less true, thank goodness. But that saying, in essence, is this: if you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a village. for village. And for village, you then substitute country, nation. It's said that that saying came from the Ghanaian scholar, and I hope I'm going to be able to pronounce his name, but Dr. James Emmanuel Kwegi Agre. Now, he lived between 1875 and 1927. I've not been able to settle down when he actually made that comment, but for an educationist, an educator, so many years ago, nearly a century ago, is in itself superb, and it was showing someone with insight who understood what it was and the value of women in the community. And that notion of a female being being at the heart of a person's achievement is sprinkled through history. George Washington, for example, said, "All I am, I owe to my mother. I attribute all my success in life to the moral, intellectual, and physical education that I received from her." And at the moment, I'm reading a autobiography of a very dear friend of mine, Professor Ron McCallum, blind from birth. He says exactly the same thing. His great love of literature, his great love of music came because his mother read to him every single day of his life. His mother read the history books, the social studies books, the maths books, and eventually the law books to him, so that he could become a professor of law and eventually the dean of the Sydney Law School. But if it had not been for that dedication and commitment for his mother, he acknowledges he would have been in a very different place, despite all his natural brilliance. And what we know in this room is that talent is not a monopoly of a select group of people. And today's inaugural conference demonstrates that. In keeping with inaugural events, let me take you to the inaugural or maiden speech of the very first woman Member of Parliament elected in New South Wales. That was Millicent Preston Stanley. It was 1925. The legislation which enabled her to be a Member of Parliament was only passed in 1918. Now, when she first appeared in Parliament and gave her maiden speech, guess what the newspapers reported on? What she wore. What she wore. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But listen to this. This is what she said. And I quote, "I want to make it clear that I am not here merely as the representative of one sex. I believe that women's questions are national questions, and that national questions are women's questions. And it may be shown that woman can take her place amongst the representatives of the people in the Parliament of this country and play her part in the political life of the nation." That is an objective which we're still trying to achieve in full, but it's happening. And sometimes I stop and wonder why it has been so hard and why on occasions it can still be so hard for women to achieve. Should it be the case, for example, I ask, as Joan Rosenoff QC, herself an eminent Australian woman in the law, who battled prejudice for being both female and Jewish. And she said this, you know, to be a female lawyer, you must have the stamina of an ox, a hide like a rhinoceros, and when they kick you in the teeth, you must look as if you hadn't noticed. Now, my anecdotal intelligence is that many female lawyers still feel that to be the case today. Thankfully, and to be celebrated, is that things have changed, and in many respects, I think that they have changed immeasurably. Certainly they have in my lifetime. No one would dare, I suspect, to say to a newly appointed female judge in 2019 what was said to me when I was appointed as a judge, and I quote, "It was socially irresponsible of the government to appoint me." And I said, in a same sort of degree of shock that I've heard around the room, "Why? probably a silly question to ask. As a lawyer, you're not supposed to ask the question that you don't know the answer to. But every now and then you get a zinger of an opportunity. So I said, why? And this QC said, well, you're married with children. And I did to him what he, I suspect, was not able to do to me. I patted him on the knee. And I said to him, it's all right, dinosaurs die out. So it's just little things along the way, but they all add up. Today, my message, and I have no doubt that the message that you give to those whom you mentor and inspire, is that as young women, you can achieve what you set out to do. In the legal field, as I like to tell all young lawyers, not only female lawyers, it is not about being aggressive. There's nothing worse than an aggressive lawyer. You need to be a good lawyer. And the message I like to give them, again as lawyers, but I think this can sort of transpose to a whole lot of situations, you just have to know when and how to stand your ground. And that's how, when the times are tough, you will achieve. So today, in this wonderful, and I say wonderfully happy room, and I think a really harmonious multicultural society, and probably one of the best on earth. Many of you here who have been born from overseas, you've come here, you've made your home in New South Wales. Some of you may well have left, because I don't know you yet, I suspect some of you actually have left areas that have been scarred by conflict. I suspect that you have come from places where education has not been readily available, and it's this society that we together have been able to build. And I think also it's important for those of us who came here in 1788 to remember that you and all your parents left what, after all, was home. And that's what I mean, the importance, I think, of the retention of identity and the need for us as an entire community not to underestimate the enormity of those who have come from across the sea and left a home to make a new home, and not to underestimate the enormity of your personal successes and your contribution to the community. Just quite extraordinary, and it makes this country. So can I congratulate each and every one of you here in the room for the contribution that you've made. And again, I congratulate the Australian Chinese Charity Foundation for its work, and again, for making today this extraordinarily important day. Thank you.
Make sure everyone can look at my camera. 5. Yeah. Make sure you can look at my camera. Go, go, go. All right, now my turn. Okay. All right, look at my camera here. 3, 2, 1, big smile, smile.